this week, so it is gaining momentum. I don't know if there's anyone here that has a sense of confidence about the economy right now. Concerned about the dollar, the strength of the dollar. Plenty of reports say don't worry about it. I find that confidence there. In fact, I keep going back to instead of confidence in the market, I get a sense of a confidence man. You're trying to tell me to believe in the dollar and that everything will be fine. That seems to be a little bit backwards. The dollar is a tool, it's money, it's a rate of exchange. It's never supposed to be anything more than that. And we're seeing it completely turn into a vehicle to make more money on money. We're getting too far away from it being a language or a tool. The biggest thing that concerns me about the Federal Reserve is constitutionally we have the right, Congress has the right to generate our own currency, our own money, our own tool, our rate of exchange, and Congress has seen fit to delegate that to a private central bank, which is the Federal Reserve. So maybe there's some benefit to that. I surely don't see it. But in this time right now, when this economy is in the worst shape that we've ever been in, we're now borrowing money at an unprecedented rate. Now, just borrowing money is not a bright idea for me. Somebody has to pay that money back. So here we're talking about trillions of dollars that we're going to borrow, and somebody's going to pay it back. It's me, it's next generation, the generation after that. So that's bad enough. I went and saw the president of the St. Louis Federal Reserve speak a couple of times last week, and we have doubled the money base. So if you understand anything about inflation at all, we're already looking at the dollar being cut in half just with doubling the money base. So we have $1.5 trillion new dollars in circulation. That's going to have an effect. It has to cause inflation at some point. It hasn't happened yet. And to hear the president of the Fed talk about the economy in general, they all like to start off with their statistics, unemployment, gross domestic product. What he says is that in the near term, what he worries about is deflation, which is what we're seeing right now. Prices aren't going up, they're going down because there's no business. So at some point, everybody that's selling for less to stay in the marketplace is eating up their own infrastructure. They're not making enough to build, they're just selling. Now in the longer term, we're going to see the inflation. We're going to see these prices go up. The part that nobody wants to talk about is the interest. Now, according to the Congressional Budget Office, the stimulus package, when it was at $780 billion, the interest on that is going to be $347 billion. That's almost half. Now, that interest is never printed. That interest has to get paid out with real goods. Because all the dollars that are out there, every one of you guys that has a dollar bill, it's a Federal Reserve note. Should we give him a break?
I don't think
we got plenty of time. Well, anyway, my concern is that this interest that has come along with these stimulus packages.
This guy's upset because we're not getting enough people. Is that what his problem is?
I think what he said is that we should have done this during the ball game. But
Hey, another country heard from. All right, so my big point is on the interest, because nobody wants to talk about it. When I asked the president of the St. Louis Fed about it, he kind of chuckled and said, "Well, you got to pay for the loan." But the key aspect of interest is it's never printed. All the money that you've got right now, those are Federal Reserve notes. They were put into circulation by the Federal Reserve. They were lent into the economy. They will get paid back out with those same notes. So you might be able to pay your interest with some of the notes that you got from somebody. But at the end, all of the interest that's due on these loans will come out of real property. This will come out in bankruptcy courts. This is going to come out of farms, businesses, houses, cars, jewelry, guns. It's going to have to come out of real product. Anybody here play Monopoly? It's always the one person in your group, you know, that you let be the banker. Nobody wants to be the banker. So they got the box top with the rules, and they handle the money, and they sell the houses and the hotels. And nobody wants to be the banker because it's a pain in the butt, and you don't get paid. Now, if you played Monopoly and you had interest, and you were the banker, then that changes the whole dynamic. Because as the banker, I already know what I'm going to make. Because I know how much money I put out there. And all I got to do now is watch you guys scramble back and forth to see who's going to take each other's pieces of the money to pay off their interest. And whatever's left is mine. But I don't care. I don't care who pays me. I'm going to get it no matter what. So the game is between you guys. It's actually boring for me. I put the money out. I got the interest coming back. You guys get to play musical chairs and see who's left with me. But I own whatever's left. That's interest. And the size of interest that we're creating is phenomenal. $347 billion on one package, on the stimulus package. That means there's just as much on TARP. There's just as much on the budget for 09. This is interest. This is what the product is. If you smoke cigarettes, the product isn't tobacco, it's nicotine. If you're the Fed, the product isn't money, it's interest. And it's coming out in larger and larger packages. It's like Pac-Man. It won't stop until it eats its preset amount. So at what point will the interest become a sizable percentage of our gross domestic product? Which, by the way, is 33% government. So when we talk about our country and how we're doing, our gross domestic product, a third of it is government. Now, government doesn't make money. That government's the only thing that can't exist without money. You can get by with less money, you can get by without money, the government cannot. So all this about the dollar, all this about money, is more important to the government than it is to us, or it should be. We've allowed ourselves to have everything we own categorized in dollar amounts. There is nothing that is priceless. The IRS doesn't recognize it, your accountant doesn't recognize it, your insurance company doesn't recognize it. There is a price on everything, and the purpose of that price is when it comes time to collect the interest, it's already cataloged. I'll take this, I'll take 2 of those, I'll take 1 of those. So if you're not paying attention to interest on this money, you're missing the boat. Right now in Missouri, on the stimulus money, Republicans are saying, we'll take $1 billion and we'll give it back to the taxpayer. So you're going to borrow my money at interest and then give it back to me? So you just charged me the interest. You just came in my house and took my sofa so you can lend me my own money. Now, that's how interest works. And that's why it's very important that we get inside the Federal Reserve and see these numbers. The Federal Reserve is doing bang-up business right now. The country is going to hell in a handbasket, and the Fed has never had better balance sheets. They're making a killing because they're lending us money. And they're controlling the game by saying, well, if you don't take the money, there's going to be a disaster. So you have to take the money. And by the way, it's at interest. So my key issue with the Fed and auditing the Fed is interest. I say it to the point of monotony. There's plenty of other reasons. Number one, primarily being, you're familiar with the expression tax and spend. And it's usually the right throwing it at the left. Those tax and spend liberals. The government has to tax. That's how they get money. It's when they spend in tax that bothers me, and that's where the Fed fills that bill. Instead of Congress having to go through the motions of asking us having the right to say no, they go to the Fed, get the money, put it into circulation, and then you end up paying for it with inflation.